Ladies and gentlemen, our next session, When Innovation Meets Hydration, conversation and cocktails featuring Johnny Drinks.
Before we start, actually,
Yeah,
Johnny,
before we start, time out.
John,
Stop. One second.
Johnny, John, are
Let me
you
ask you a
John
question.
Jr.
This
or
is
Johnny
John.
Jr.?
This is John.
We get very confused.
Yeah, Johnny.
This is Johnny.
So you're Johnny and you're Johnny.
And this is John. But I want to ask
So
you a
he's the
question.
real Johnny
Can I ask
Drinks.
you a question? Before
Yes,
You
ask
gotta
me a
let
question.
people come in anyway.
Okay.
All right. It's real simple. I know it's your show. I know you're anxious. You got, look at this. Guy's a senior executive.
Just in case.
He's got these cards showing your
Everyone's had cards today.
So here's my question. I don't wonder if you know the answer. Someone's mother had 4 children, north, south, and east. What is the name of the 4th child?
Who's on first? Who's on second?
How many people answered?
What's
that?
on second?
How many
What are we
people
doing
answered?
over here?
So go. Anthony did
All
a
right.
Facebook post. It was
Yes,
very-
I did it Facebook.
very-
So anyway, Johnny and John.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your meteoric rise happened out of nowhere during a bored day during COVID,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So what I understand is you were just looking to make a drink. So tell us how this all happened.
Yeah, these lights are crazy.
Crazy bright.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, we started making TikToks sort of out of nowhere. I was bored February 2020. We were going out to eat, and my dad was making a cocktail, so I figured why not try to make a video out of it. Posted this video thinking nothing of it. We were sitting at dinner, and lo and behold, we were going viral. And at that point, it was like 20,000 views, which in my mind was amazing. So we kept track of it, and in, I would say, 24 hours, we maybe had a couple million views. So again, I was not used to this, so we really were excited. We had nothing else to do because now a month later, quarantine hit. We said, screw it, let's just keep making cocktails. So it was pretty parabolic since that day. Every video that we posted pretty much seemed to hit. We could do no wrong in the beginning, and now about 4 years later, we have a little over 4 million followers across the board. Think like, I would say well over 1 billion views total, so it's going well. It's a lot of fun.
So how did you manage explosive growth? Like,
You know, that's a funny one because I'm still trying to manage the growth, you know, because there's a lot of times where you think you're at one point and then a month goes by and your views aren't where they used to be, so now you think you're at another point. So I think it's just trying to stay very even keel regardless of what happens as the result of the posting, but it's stressful. It's definitely something that people are not used to, and the human brain is not meant to have billions of people seeing what you do every day, you know.
I mean, it's tough to come up with content.
Well, that's-
I mean,
yeah.
I've seen you've made 1 million drinks, it seems, and it's 1,000,001 and 1,000,002 gets a little difficult to be more creative. So how do you come up with the
Well,
content?
that's where, there's a role that everyone needs to play, right? So I'm the show, he's the business, and the business side of it has to come up with this constant, consistent drip of what we now know is creative, right? The creative content. And, John does a great job at it, and I think why he and I work well together, especially when it's time to put it to a place where everyone else can enjoy it, we understand our roles. That doesn't mean we don't have creative differences, because I'm pretty creative, he's creative, he goes in front of the camera, and he's comfortable as well. So we interchange roles and parts and segments of this, so everything is certainly organic and natural for us, and we play on that.
Well, content creation's difficult. We obviously know that. But I actually went to one of your filming days, and I couldn't believe actually what went into the whole process. First of all, you guys are sometimes in a disagreement with each other, and you're trying to figure out
This is
what
my son. Of course.
And there's a lot of bickering going on, but
course.
behind the scenes, you should actually film the outtakes. I think
People
it'd
say
be-
that all the time.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I don't think your audience realizes what goes into creating the content, how much work is involved. It looks like so much fun, but you guys are working your butts off and trying to figure out how to present. And I noticed, you take 1, take 2, take 3, and then you get it right. But why don't you explain how this process is not what I think influencers or creators think it is.
Yeah, and again, people like us, like we were unintentional creators, like we made a video, it went really well, people liked us, so we said let's just keep doing it. But if you were like intentional to say, I want to become a content creator, it's a bit different because now you got to find your niche, what you're really good at, and what you can become good at. So it's like, all right, what do I pay attention to? How good can I make the first 5 seconds of the video? Because with short form content, that's what really matters. If you can get a good 5-second hook, not to say the rest doesn't matter, but that's way more important than having a really, really good ending, you know? So it's things like that you got to keep in mind. For us, and I guess for me as like the director of this thing, because I do have to work with my dad and somebody else who does have his own disagreements or things he doesn't want to do, I have to kind of come up with ideas that I know are going to be great, but are also practical for him to want to do. You know, if I had the idea for the world's biggest cocktail and I had a process of how to film that thing, but then if I came to him and he said, I'm not doing that nonsense, there goes the entire idea. So it's about knowing how to work with whoever you're working with, staying within the confines of who you are as a creator, and not getting too obsessed with chasing other people's content, because that'll drive you crazy, and then you're very inauthentic, and nobody wants to see that.
And so from my vantage point, 58, 28. Are you 29 yet?
No, I'm 27.
All right, I got 4 kids. He's 27. He's going to be 28 October 6th. So, all right, yeah. Anyway, the point he makes is well in that he wants me to do certain things, and he wants to play on my inexperience of, let's say, technology or some of the other things that other creators do that I refuse to compromise on. I just won't do it. I can't do it. And that's a true statement that starts and ends with, you have to know who you are, right? You have to know where you exist and where you're going to flourish. And, you know, we are a father and son first. We are home tenders by way of this cocktail persona that's created. I'm not a mixologist. I didn't go to this bartending school. I literally made one drink to pregame to go out to Del Fresco's in the city, and it got 9 million views. From there, you know, social media came to us, and he said, do it again. I'm like, I don't even know what we did. I made a drink. I'm going to make a drink, you know, later. And you
do make a good drink, though.
Well, thanks. I've
I
gotten
know you're
better
a home
at it.
tender, but I think you're in between a home tender and a mixologist.
He's getting better.
Well, listen, I thank you guys. When you make, like you said, thousands of drinks, hopefully you get the hang of something.
You'll get to 1 million.
Yeah.
So take us back, Johnny Jr., to you're 24, 25 years old, you graduated college, you have this career in mind, you have a whole career ahead of you, you have a job, a real job, let's call it, right? And all of a sudden this starts to blow up, and you got to make a decision, because this is becoming more and more like a full-time job. So did you think it was a risk, or was it basically, I know this is the way to go? Like, take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the easiest decision I had to make, because this was my dream, right? Like growing up, I was always so intrigued by the content creation space. Didn't really know what my niche would be, and then as soon as it hit me in the face, I was like, oh, I'm running with this thing. So college, I had an ed tech startup, which was the most boring thing in the world. So it was like, if I can sell into a school, I can sell anything, because that stuff was year sales cycles. Nobody wanted to listen to you because you were a 23-year-old kid. The students didn't want to listen to you unless it was like the cool and edgy thing to do. So you're kind of balancing like this world of, you got to appease the students, but you got to appease the university. So as soon as I had the reason to jump from that, and it's funny because as soon as we started blowing up on TikTok, it was easier to promote the other business because I used and leveraged our name, right? So now I was Johnny Drinks, or we were Johnny Drinks, and I would say, also, this is what I do on the side. And all these college kids were, you know, swarming to go download the app. But there was a point in time where I knew that I wasn't giving full devotion to the app itself, and I was at a point where, as a CEO, I needed to be all in. Like, I needed to be every day, heads down, figuring out, problem solving, and I just wasn't. I wasn't as obsessed with that as I was with this. So it was almost too easy of a decision where he didn't even know I made the choice until one day he's like, wait, what are you and I'm like, nah, I'm out.
Well, I was going to ask that. As a dad, are you saying,
he
son,
had no
what the
choice.
hell are you doing? You're putting all your eggs into my basket.
As a dad,
right?
and as an investor.
Right.
I mean, I invested in what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, physically, and monetarily. We want to support and encourage this app development. And I love the concept and the idea. To his point, you know, we reached crossroads. And I reached crossroads today. I'm a mortgage professional by trade, right? That's what I do.
Oh, you didn't grow up just making drinks?
No, no. So
I think the world thinks that you were just a bartender.
Yeah, so my 30 plus years of mortgage financing, banking, big enterprise bank, you know, I've reached an impasse. And it's interesting because you don't know at what point in your life you're going to get challenged with the left or the right turn that you need to make. And I'm at one today, and I need to go down this road and follow and put the other stuff aside. So it's emotionally something that, again, as comfortable as it is to do this and fun, I'm walking away from what I know best. So that's the next chapter for us.
Okay, let's talk about platforms and audience reach. So where do you focus your time, and how do you plan on an audience to reach and the community and the platforms that you're running on? Is there an science to this, or is it more of an art?
It's a mix of both. I mean, the science comes from analyzing content, your own content, other people's content, what's trending nowadays, what works, what doesn't. But you can analyze and kill yourself as far as like your creation, because if I had a checklist of like, all right, these are the things I have to do to make a really good video, but it comes across very robotic, right? Nobody's watching that video. It doesn't matter that you did this as the hook and this as the middle and this is the drink you made, because it didn't feel real. For whatever reason, you can watch videos. I can make two of the same, right? One goes super viral, one doesn't. And there normally is a reason why, and you really can't put your finger on it. You can just watch that first video so seamlessly, and you're done with it, and you're like, wow, I want to watch that again, or I want to share it with a friend. And then the other one, you just don't feel that same way. So I think the science is like mastering that. And there is a science to understanding, to an extent, what goes viral, and what we should be doing. So I would say you got to become very obsessive with it, right? Like every day, 24/7, you're thinking about, how can I make a really good video? What's our next big idea? Because it's not just about making a 30-second TikTok. Like, where do we go from here? Because if you're just making short-form content, but you have no concept of like where to build your business and where to expand off of that, you are at the demise of these platforms. And these platforms can very easily, as fast as they made you the it man, that's as fast as they can make you the not it man. And now nobody cares about you for the month. And if you feel super impacted and affected by that, you may not create anymore. So I think it's a hard battle of focusing so much, but also taking a step back and just like appreciating life you've sort of built.
So from your side, is there a difference in the platforms? You know, I know that you have different levels of audience, right? So are you catering to the TikTok audience opposed to a YouTube audience? Do you think about that?
That's a great question. So nowadays, content seems to be way more predicated.
That wasn't on the card, by the way.
That was a great question.
I love it. I love it.
Really good question.
Here, take the card.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, there it is.
Be free.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Scare me. Yeah, I mean, so nowadays, even like now compared to 5-10 years ago, these platforms care way more about good content and not follower count, right? So back in the day, you had 1 million followers on Instagram. You could post a black square and get 100,000 likes because your followers are devoted to you, and the feed will show that to people. Whereas nowadays, we have, about 3 million on TikTok. If we post a shitty video, sorry for cursing, that won't get any views. Like we will get, I've had times where we've had 15,000 views on a video, and I look back and I'm like, that was either terrible or it didn't vibe with the people that are used to seeing our content. So for me, it's less about which platform I'm focusing on, because it's funny, when I get a video that does really well on one, it tends to do really well on every other platform. And now what happens is like this storm again of accumulation where you gotta realize like people that watch TikToks, they're probably also on YouTube and they're probably also on Instagram. So if they're fans of you from one, they're gonna support you on other platforms as well. Or it may be like, if I'm a fan of TikTok and I watch a video of ours and I know you're a fan of Instagram, I may go to Instagram and send you that video. So now I'm sharing, so you see what I'm saying? It's more about good content in general, and I'm a big fan of good content arises to the top. It doesn't matter really what platform.
And what John has learned, and I think does really well, we'll take that one video or that one YouTube long form and repurpose it and chop it up and put it on different platforms. And sometimes, though, to that end, you do get a better run on a YouTube short, right, than you might get on a TikTok or vice versa. There are times where one video, although it's the same, and repurposed and shortened, chopped up, seems to, because the algorithm likes it that day, I guess, and it has a more popular, view measure.
Oh, I mean, if you're creating content, whether you're a business or personal, you should be reposting your content to every platform you can, right? Like I would say there's like 8 platforms out there right now that you can be posting to. You should be doing it. It's not hard to repost, and it's so worth it because, like you said, we've had videos that did decent on TikTok or Instagram, and then tens of millions of views on YouTube for whatever reason. So
yeah, what we've learned, I think I've learned, being a conventional, traditional person influenced by advertising, right, commercials. I've been enlightened, opened my eyes to where this content creation is the digital space, creativity space for advertisers, right? It's a great place for them to get their product out, their call to action in place and in order. But you need that consistency, time over time over time. And so what is very interesting, we have millions of followers. There could be people who follow us that never saw the first video. And if you hang your hat on it, and he's past this because he's learned this, but I think I talk to a lot of younger people who ask, well, how do you guys do it? And they're creators, right? They're influencers. They want to be, interestingly enough, as a career, young people are asked, I think it was 12 years old, 13 years old, was an article Bamberger was telling me last night, that 57% of that demographic, young people, want to be influencers. So, okay, here we are, influencers.
That's crazy.
And if you are one person alone, to me that's a disadvantage, right? We're 2 people. We play off each other. He reminds me, I remind him. But the point I'm trying to make is we have millions of followers. And if that one video that we put out there that we thought we did really well with, and we've experienced this, we nailed it, we knew we had fun, we made pizza at his house, that thing's going. I pulled figs off a tree, I muddled it, that thing's gonna go. It goes nowhere. I'm like,
think of nowhere.
well, it doesn't
Should have
go.
had me make the pizza.
It didn't go, but the point is, it doesn't,
yeah,
given you have 3 million people, how does it only get a couple 100,000 or 250,000? Like that's the place that it screws with you. And if you're not consistent and you don't stick to your practice of repurposing it, putting it on the next platform, repurpose it again in the next platform, and giving those other people who you think may have seen it or may not liked it, they probably, good chances are, never even saw it. So you increase your odds of them putting eyeballs on it.
Yeah, and I was just listening to a podcast with Rick Rubin today with Def Jam Records, and he was talking about creativity and creation back in the day when nobody else saw the end result, or the amount of feedback we get right now is it's so insane that it actually it could hurt you, right? Because if you have so much conviction in yourself, but you listen to the masses that are telling you that video wasn't good, now you're discouraged. So what happens a lot with creators is if you have so much conviction in a video, let's say, and we can make a video in 5 minutes, right? So we're a little bit different, but there are creators that take literal weeks to make one video. So if you have so much conviction in that and that flops, you can choose to listen to the audience and say, I'm never gonna touch that again. Or you can go back to the drawing board and say, I'm gonna remake this video. I'm gonna change up the beginning. I'm gonna change up the thumbnail. I'm gonna change up the description because you know there's something there. So don't give up on yourself. Like I've heard of people 2-3 times over recreating and reposting content, and now all of a sudden it blows up. So that's something too where it's a balance of listening to the feedback of other people and knowing in yourself, you know how to make really good content. Take yourself out of the perspective and say, did I enjoy what I just watched?
So you have this rise, right? And you have this user base growing, but it's hard to stay on top. So are you up at night thinking like, okay, what if our users drop?
Well, we're from North Jersey. We take out the competition when it's dark.
That's right. You take them out
Yeah.
with a shovel. So
Not posting anymore.
Johnny Jr. I could imagine that sometimes maybe you are up at night thinking like, okay, how do we keep this growing? Because you can't go static and you don't ever go down, right? So I noticed that you're going beyond drinks. I think one of your biggest TikToks was how to pack an overnight bag.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about some other content you're getting into to keep your user base up?
Well, I'll definitely let him talk about that, but the fear of like not being on top forever, it eats. Like I won't go out if I have a terrible week of videos and I don't feel like I earned going out on the weekends. I don't even want to be seen. It's a really crazy mindset where the outside world, like people out there probably like, you're ridiculous. You didn't get a meal. Like, let me pull out the violin for you.
I didn't know
because
that.
you feel bad. But it's one of those
So
things.
you're
that I'm
looking
okay.
constantly. It's like looking at
I
the stock
promise.
ticker.
I promise I'm okay.
I'll go
but
out with you.
It really is like that because now this is your livelihood. You know what I mean? Like if you feel that it's over for you, you got to hit the drawing board. And so I've done a lot of like self-reflection. My happiness as a creator cannot be predicated on views because that's a sad life to live if all you care about is what other people think.
Right.
But it does hit you in the face pretty quickly.
Just like any artist.
Isn't that interesting?
Exactly. Like the high you get from going viral is it's a drug. It's like unlike anything else. You really do rise and you sit there like, I need more of this. So you keep getting it and you keep feeling that satisfaction, that dopamine hit. And then one day it drops and you're like, where'd it go? Where are all my fans?
That's something I just learned. I knew you were connected to it emotionally. I didn't realize it was maybe weighing on you that heavy in the sense that you're saying you're not going out. So when we don't get videos with good views, I'm like, all right, on to the next. And that's an age thing. That's the one thing I continually try to share with our audience. And the part that, to Tony's point about educating people, young people, about some of the simple, fundamental life skills, from making a bed, shining shoes, how to make a tie, it runs the gamut. And if you get familiar with our page, you'll see what I mean. But the short of it is the best compliment I get is when young people come up to me and say, thank you, you taught me how to make a tie. Thank you, you taught me how to shine my shoes. I had a guy come up to me, his wedding day, he says, you taught me how to make a bow tie on my wedding day. I'm like, what are you doing on your wedding day not knowing how to make a bow tie? First of all, do it 2 or 3 times before. But anyway, so it's a gift to be part of this, and we share, I think, a very consistent, true message to our followers, and we just love doing it.
Yeah. I don't want you feeling bad for me, by the way. That was not like a private help. I'm like so fine. It's actually, I appreciate the journey a lot more now than I ever did because there is so much impact we're having. And like he said, that stuff matters way more than going viral, right? When people that don't have fathers in their lives are saying to me, like, your dad has been my dad, that is incredible. You know, now I get to share. Yeah,
That's heavy, yeah.
It's heavy, and it's something that I didn't ask for, but it's something that now I know that's the exciting part of waking up every day. It's like we have this chance to have a true impact on the world.
So quickly, because we got to get to the drink.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? What does the future hold for the Johnny Drinks brand?
So that is probably one of my biggest downfalls. Is like I have a really hard time visualizing my future self, and I don't really know where I want this thing to go. I think we would like to have an impact physically, right? I personally would like to have some sort of restaurant, lounge, place where people can go, maybe do podcasts in person. Like, I love doing stuff.
27 years old,
No, but it's
restaurant
nothing to
lounge.
do with
I'm not spending time, I'm tired enough sometimes.
Okay.
I come to
This is the
these
part
things.
where like you have to agree with. This is, but again, like doing stuff online is great. Doing something in person and being able to talk to people one-on-one is incredible. So maybe it's doing stuff like a podcast in person, things like that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot we can do.
Well,
There's a lot.
speaking of
So-
in person,
Yeah.
I think we have some time here. We
Yeah,
want
let's
to do
do
a
it.
live drink, right?
Yeah, let me show you guys.
It's almost 5 o'clock, so it's time for it's happy hour.
All right.
So
So we're going to take
always
some.
happy hour
just-
somewhere
You know
around
what?
the world.
Slide over there real quick. Let me get
Let me
this.
do one job.
All right. So I'm going to. You guys. We are in. Obviously, this beautiful New York City. Is that me or him? All right. So you're familiar with a cocktail, bourbon cocktail. You guys familiar with? It's called a Manhattan. We're going to make a Zeta Manhattan, and it's a little different in that I'm going to use certain things that I will sweeten it up, and you're all going to get a sample. I think they're going to walk around here and give you some taste. So a Manhattan can be made with rye, a brown liquor, a whiskey. In this case, we're using Johnny Drinks Bourbon. Click the link below. Subscribe.
You're corny, man.
You got to work on that.
yeah, you have to. You got a nice ring to yours.
Yeah, well,
to your
I've been
ring.
doing it now for. So anyway, this is to answer in part Anthony's question. I don't measure, by the way, either, because there's no wrong over pour. It's going to get used somewhere, right? To answer Anthony's question, what's next? You know what's next? We are going to take a extension, orange bitters, a couple dashes, and create another business line. And the business line is this bourbon. And it's going to go through some revamp. meaning the label's probably going to change, the juice in the bottle is going to change. But this is something I've taken on that I want to do because I know this is a little bit more reasonable given what's going to be necessary to do it versus the sort of restaurant lounge type thing that he wants to do. This is sweet vermouth, okay? So right now we have really 3 ingredients. You had your bourbon, you have your bitters, in this case orange bitters. You have a sweet vermouth. This is a little bit of a higher quality sweet vermouth. When you use sweet vermouth, put it in the refrigerator. It's a distilled wine. You shouldn't leave it out. I mean, if you leave it out, you should be using it, faster than you probably want to because that means you're drinking a lot. All right, I'm going to take a little bit here. This is maraschino cherry juice. There's a couple of more popular ones out there. We don't have them here today. You guys do have a maraschino cherry that's going to be in the samples. But this is, Starlino makes this, as well as the more popular one is called Luxardo, right? Cherries. And all of these little things make a difference when you go out to a bar. When you go to a restaurant or bar and you ask for an old-fashioned, a Manhattan, a bourbon drink, a lot of people don't even know what's in it. They know the starting spirit, but some of the other stuff that complements it, like the bitters and like the sweet vermouth, it matters, all right? Bars are going to serve you low-end, well spirits, and they're going to put, instead of a more quality of a bourbon, they're going to put in a low-end bourbon, which is fine. If you don't care and you don't know, then you will never know, all right? So when I serve this, and this is so funny, I took these cubes from my house on Wednesday. When did we come in? Wednesday, right? Tony drove me in. By the way, don't drive into the city with Tony. He gets a little aggravated. People crossing the path.
I don't like traffic.
He doesn't like traffic. So these are spheres, right? Now I'm using my bare hands because I don't have much other of an option. Somehow I lost my towel here too. I serve it on a sphere. You could serve it up in a coupe glass, in a martini glass if you like, as a Manhattan. You can serve it down on a rock like that. I like it on a rock. I think it matters. It doesn't water down as long as when you put it in here. This has already been watered down, and I normally wouldn't take this much time from mixing it to pouring it, but we have, again, to move things along, all right? So now this goes right in the glass, and you can see again, it's a very healthy pour, and there's a little extra, all right? And because we are at Zeta, and because I like to do things a little extra, I take this orange, I'm just gonna give it a little here and drop that in, right? A little orange in here, drop that in. And I'm gonna do it 2 ways. One, I'm gonna leave alone, and the other is yet another one of our marketing things that we do, but the true authentic part of this is what started the Johnny Drinks. I smoked a glass. I make my Manhattan. I do this for myself, and that's the way I enjoy it. Came up with this kit. We tested a lot of different ones. I finally came up with something I liked, and basically this sits right on top, and you'll notice it doesn't obstruct from going in and hitting the sphere cube. A lot of the ones that are on the market have this big, long kind of nipple, I'll say, and it kind of, you can't do it that way. So I like this one because we found it, and I think it's nice. All right, so.
Tell them where to get it.
If you, I'm not pushing that stuff. Click the link below, subscribe. Well, you tell them. While I'm doing it.
JohnnyDrinks.com.
Yeah, JohnnyDrinks.com. All right. So you see what I just did? I just put some fuel in here, some wood chips. I'm gonna make this hot, just like Zeta Global's conference here. I'm gonna smoke it. Smoking it for Das. Where is he? There we go.
He's on the big.
There we go. Okay. So now this is a really cool. If you're not intrigued by what this tastes like, right? We eat food with our eyes. Well, our eyes matter in a lot of respects. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you have this because you're my host and my guest.
Want to hold my cards for me?
I want to burn them. I'm going to burn them with my torch.
Here, burn them
with my torch. All right, so this is, look at that.
Wow.
Look at
It's
that.
like Herman Munster's glass.
And nothing for my son?
Cheers.
Cheers.
To Johnny Drinks.
I swear to God, happens every time.
Every time.
To Zeta Live. Cheers, everybody.
Good seeing you guys.